All right, Dr. Awad, stay with us. We're turning now to more developments coming in this hour. The United States has intensified its military campaign in Yemen, launching 13 new airstrikes on the Houthi-controlled port and airport in Hodeidah. According to the Houthi-run Al-Masirah TV, this comes just days after a deadly strike on the nearby Ras Isa oil port, which killed at least 80 people and injured over 171 others. Al-Masirah also reports further U.S. airstrikes in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a, killing 3 and wounding 4 more in the districts of Al-Tawra, Bani Matar and Al-Safiha. Despite the escalation, the Houthis have vowed to continue their operations. The strikes follow President Donald Trump's announcement of a major offensive aimed at deterring Houthi threats to shipping routes in the Red Sea, an artery vital to global trade. Since November, the Houthis have carried out over 100 attacks on the ships they allege are linked to Israel in solidarity with Gaza. Meanwhile, the United Nations has expressed grave concern. Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned the strikes may have caused severe civilian casualties and could result in environmental damage, including possible oil leaks in the Red Sea. The UN also noted that the port of Ras Isa is critical for Yemen, handling most of the country's oil exports and humanitarian aid, making its destruction, of course, a major blow to an already devastated nation. Dr. Wael Awad, the Middle East affairs expert, continues to be live with us from New Delhi. Dr. Awad, how do you view these latest strikes and what do you believe their ramifications are going to be?
Well, I believe that the United States have a different objective in the Red Sea rather than what has been declared. You know, that the United States have been for years trying to have a control on all the global oil and trade passages. And Bab el-Mandeb, which is get into the Red Sea, then the Sinai Peninsula, Sinai Canal, is all very important for the United States to have a total control. And there was a talk of a kind of a military bridge between Djibouti and Africa and also between Aden of Yemen. So therefore, this sort of an attack has been showing that the United States is still keeping its objective alive, and they wanted to make sure that weakening Ansarullah al-Houthis is part of the game of controlling the passage, because what happened is that the Houthis have increased their attack only after the 7th of October, calling on Israel to halt its activities and genocide against the Palestinians, then they will stop. But ever since Israel did not stop him, only for a truce of a short period, then they resumed again. So they have been targeting the Israeli ships and including the trade ships of the United States and Britain because of the taking a war against the Houthis. So I think the Houthis gain an upper hand in this controlling the passage from that side. But we would say that now with the changing scenario in the region, especially with the Iranian talk with the American at one side and also the Russian siding with Mr. Trump in many issues, in whether in Ukraine or in Syria, I think the Houthis are trying to calculate differently now, dealing with the other options they have with dealing with the United States, because I don't see any ground forces of the United States on the Houthis, but continue to bombardment from the sky and weakening the Houthis. And this, if we look at the ultimatum goal, not only for controlling the passage, but I think this will lead to the division of Yemen and making it breaking into south and north again.
Yes. Do you then see this offensive continuing? But the United States President, of course, has warned of further strikes, of course. Do you see this offensive continuing in the days ahead as well, despite what the United Nations Secretary General has had to say?
Well, I think that's what the American administration and many of the American experts have been saying, that this attack on the Ansarullah in Yemen will continue for weeks to come. So I don't see any, cessation of activities, especially with the ongoing war of Israel and on Gaza Strip and West Bank. So I think at one hand, the Houthis are gaining popularity among the Arab nations, that they are the only people who is defying the American and the Israelis, and they are supporting the Palestinians and their struggle. But at the same time, also they are also recognizing that the Americans are trying to weaken them. But if we look at the arsenals of the Houthis and what they have gained for the last 2 decades of war on them by the coalition forces that led by the United States first, and now again the United States trying to form a sort of a coalition to protect the shipping line from there and end the Houthi control. I think these are all issues has to be seen from the wider perspective. of the big power struggle in this part of the world. Because see, what's happening in our region is that the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the Strait of Hormuz, if these passageways controlled more than 34% of the total world trade and passage of the oil, there are 21,000 ships pass every year from the Red Sea. There is more than 57 ships a day pass from there. And if that is a good damage, and I think the whole world, not only peace and global peace and security will be at risk, but also trade and the global trade and oil supply lines will be also of a threat to the world. And I think that's where we need to see what is the American objective of continuing the attack on the Yemenis. Is it seriously, it is only the Houthis, or controlling the whole passage, as has been always the ambition of the U.S.?
Yes, well, obviously, as you're saying, the Houthis then, if their popularity is increasing, they're unlikely, of course, to stop these attacks and to stop what they're doing, of course, in that particular region, in the waters there. However, of course, what then is going to be the strategy moving forward? Do you believe these are going to be further strikes on ports, or there could be other action as well, not just in Yemen, but in other areas where they're active too?
Well, I think they are more active in Yemen. The Houthis are able to attack even inside Israel, and the United States knows that what the Houthis are capable of, especially after they have confiscated some of the weapon which has been supplied by the United States to the oppositions and to the government of Yemen. And they have modified those weapons, and especially the anti-ship missiles and all these things, to their own benefit, and they have enough drones as well. So I think they gain the technology, and they gain also the terrain, and that nobody can reach them. With the cheapest kind of expenses, they are able to cause that much damage to the United States. I mean, billions of dollars America will be costing it the war on Yemen, while the Yemenis will be spending millions of dollars only because of their, they have the history, they have the ground, and the American knows that nobody ever, even in history, have been able to defeat the Yemenis. Whether it was the coalition that led by Saudi Arabia and Yemen, they failed in many fronts with the American support, with the Western support. And again, now the Yemeni prove it once again that they can be a force to reckon with, and the United States has to deal with them indifferently, and they have to put an end to the war in Palestine. And without solution to the Palestinian cause, the turbulence on the Red Sea and the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean will be disturbed, and it will be difficult to have a peace in that part of the world.
My thanks to you, Dr. Wael Awad, for joining us with your perspective on that big story. All right, that's all.